So I'm going to start this off now. It is now 5 o'clock. Welcome everybody. I did hear you. We did have some beautiful crystal harp music in the beginning as people were getting together to just kind of settle in, make the place holy. Frequencies absolutely contain vibrations. Thoughts contain vibrations. In the beginning, and God said, let there be light. God said is a thought, is a vibration, whether it's audible or not. Sound literally can move matter and organize it, and we know this now. So that's why we hold and have the sacred chants, sacred frequencies, to be able to kind of set the tone, create that beautiful portal of sacredness. So I will start off with a beautiful prayer. We had the beautiful tones, and then I'll kind of get into this beautiful education piece about Noah, ancient bloodlines, and the fallen angels. So let's just all take a beautiful breath in, center. And this is a lovely prayer for paradise on earth by the Joe Ray Fellowship, and it's absolutely lovely, puts us in that beautiful state. Great God of light, we behold your plan unfolding, whereby all spiritual clouds are dispelled, impurity and error cleansed from the realms of spirit and matter. The age of light and joy is being born through your infinite compassion. Misguided forces waken unto truth, and negative practices cease, while forces of light, unhindered, restore the world to peace. All of nature receives your loving influence and finds its rightful place. Peaceful clouds move across brilliant skies, and the fragrance of countless flowers floats upon the air. Abundant harvests glorify the earth, every corner filled with happy voices. Boundaries between countries vanish, and ancient conflicts disappear as if dreams. All people are united, encircled by your light, and guided by your wisdom. Through service to humanity, all are blessed with health, peace, and prosperity. Great God of light, strengthen us with courage and wisdom to follow your will and realize paradise on earth. Amen, 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 and amen. So I'm going to open up and welcome everyone here, both online and in person. And I'd like to dedicate this month's sermon to our beloved friend, Brenda Mayberry. She recently went through her transition. We had a beautiful service here. We will also be saying the holy names of God for her tomorrow. And she was a beautiful, wonderful spirit and soul. And we know that she is in the glories of the paradise on all the dimensions in all the heavens with our Holy Father. So we're going to dedicate this service to her, send my love to her all the way up on that beautiful bridge of love that she can feel. So thank you, Brenda, for your service to the Cosmic Center of Spiritual Light and for your beautiful light that we were able to see and feel and be with during your sojourn here on earth. So now I'd like to introduce you to a couple of different wisdom texts, because as I was telling you, there's going to be ancient texts that support what we're going to be talking about today. And I'll tell you just a little bit, go into the brief paragraph that I was telling you in introduction as to what we're going to be doing. But the Kolbrin Bible, and as you can tell, this is well worn, with many bookmarks on it. But this is the Kolbrin Bible that you can get hold of, and I'll give you a little bit of the information about it. But this is the Kolbrin Bible. We also have the Holy Bible, and I've got two other ancient wisdom texts that I was able to get hold of. So we're going to be referencing all of them, and interesting, they all interrelate, all interlace, and speak of the same type of event that happened with Noah. There might have been other times when the earth had been in a great upheaval. And so they're either talking about the same event, or there could have been different times on earth when it had been destroyed. And that's why we're bringing this in with Nibiru, the planet X, because if there is a planet that NASA has kind of been detecting, and it comes by every 3,600 years, is what Zecharia Sitchin is talking about with the ancient Sumerian interpretations. But it was interesting because not only does Zecharia Sitchin talk of this, but the Kolbrin Bible speaks of it. So the Celts spoke of it and the Egyptians. And these are ancient texts that support that. So that's why I was going to interrelate everything today. But so this Kolbrin Bible that I just showed you, it's an ancient secular text that was penned in heretic Egyptian by the Egyptians in 1500 before Common Era. It was lucky to survive when the Glastonbury Abbey was set ablaze that housed it in 1184 CE because King Henry II ordered an attack on the abbey, claiming that the Celtic priests there were mystical heretics. The priest went into hiding, and they transcribed the remaining text onto bronze sheets so that it would never or could never be burned again, so that it wouldn't be lost, and stored them in copper-laden wooden boxes to safeguard it. The bronze book was then merged with the Celtic wisdom text called the Kol Book to become the Kolbrin Bible, and that's what this is. It speaks of the revealers of light that came into Egypt after the lands also. So this is what you're going to see, which is why I'm tying this in. This Kolbrin Bible speaks of a time before the flood, which is exactly what we're speaking of in the Bible is before the flood in Genesis. So you have these people coming in with this ancient knowledge of before the flood. And then now we're going to be talking about the 12th planet, the Zecharia Sitchin has spoke about. Now, I don't know if any of you have read his books. I was able to see him at the ARE, the Association Research and Enlightenment, Edgar Casey's center there in Virginia Beach many years ago, right before he went through his transition. But he was a scholar. And when he started looking at the interpretations, he realized that they were wrong. And he was the foremost scholar. And so he was able to reinterpret these ancient Sumerian texts in a correct format. And what he was able to delineate and explain to everyone, and he wrote many books, but this is he's the author of the 12th planet. In the Sumerian legends, it speaks of a massive object that orbits the sun every 3,600 years. And it's called, we've nicknamed it Nibiru. However, they called it the Great Frightener. They called it the Great Destroyer in the text. And I'll read it to you because I wanted you to see this. Called Nibiru by the ancients, its catastrophic flybys have driven the evolution or destruction of humankind and are spoken about in other wisdom texts. This will be the Kolbrin Bible, but you're going to see even in these other texts, it will speak of this. It's very, very interesting. The Egyptians called it the Great Frightener or the Destroyer, and so did the Celts. And I will ask, could the flood that the Bible speaks of and that all these other wisdom texts speak of, could it have been this Great Frightener? Could it be the planet X that we're talking about, that NASA is looking at, they're trying, and I'll go into a little bit of detail at the end, they're seeing anywhere between 10 to 13 different planets way out there that are cocked a certain way that are giving evidence to the fact that there's either a massive planet that's creating that, or there's a black hole or something. So we know that NASA's starting to look at this going, there's something out there. So the science is starting to relook at this. And then we're finding evidence in these ancient wisdom texts. So I'm going to start with Noah. And I did the family tree for him because we all know the story of Noah. But I wanted you to see this because why was Noah picked? You know, and so I wanted to see where some of the origins came from. What was so special about Noah? So in order to know that, let's see where he came from and why the Bible really, it goes into his whole genealogy. Very interesting. So I wanted to show that because I think that is very important. So in Genesis 5, it literally will give you the entire genealogy of who Noah was and where he came from. So we have his family tree, starting with Adam. Adam lived 930 years. Very interesting. And that's kind of, we talk about the Anunnaki and the long times, but it's very interesting that the Bible will literally be so precise and tell you exactly how long people lived. And yet we don't live that long. So it's interesting how they're so precise and specific, but Adam lives 930 years. He begets Seth. Seth lives 912 years, and he begets Enosh. Enosh lives 905 years. He begets Cainan. Cainan lives 910 years. Look at all the 900 years. And he begets Mahalalel. Mahalalel lives 895 years and begets Jared. Jared lives 962 years and begets Enoch. Now we start remembering Enoch. We at least have a lot of understanding of who Enoch is. He was very special, right? He found a lot of favor with God. So Enoch, he lives 365 years. He begets Methuselah. But remember with Enoch here, Enoch found favor in the presence of God 300 years after having Methuselah. That was very interesting when I looked through that it wasn't until after he begets Methuselah that he finds favor with God, and then he only lives 365 years. Isn't that interesting? So something, when they're referencing finding favor with God, this has got to mean something, right? And so then Enoch is the one who finds favor with God, and God literally takes him up into the heavens. So he's one of the special ones. Enoch begets Methuselah, who then lives 965 years. So I wanted to bring that up because Methuselah is one of the oldest lived ancient ones. But can you see there's a history of all of his forefathers living 900 years? Methuselah begets Lamech. Now, if anyone's into gematria or numerology, this is very interesting. And I'd like to delve into that at a later date. Lamech lives 777 years. That's very interesting, especially when we talk about the mark of the beast, 666, 777 are divine numbers. So there's all kinds of significance with this, that Lamech, who is the grandfather of Noah, lives 777 years. And so that gives you some kind of significant number to show, wait a second, there's divine intention, there's divinity in here. So Lamech is the one who begets Noah. Noah lives, and then he begets Shem, Ham, and Japheth. So that's their story of Noah. Very interesting. They all live a great number of years, but it gives you the lineage of Noah. So why would you give someone's lineage unless it's really, really, really important to know? And then you can see Noah comes from Adam. And so Enoch finds favor with God, right? However, Noah, in the Bible, it will say God found mercy with Noah. So they know this is coming. There's something special that's going to be happening. Now, when we go back into Genesis 6, Noah is set up for this. And I'm going to go back in and tell you all the other things about Noah that goes into more detail as to where this is. We know in the Bible, even from here, and I'll read this to you, that Noah, we know there's an expectancy that he's going to be given some great comfort to the earth. And that's going to be in the Bible here. However, remember this, in the Bible, it's going to support what the other texts are saying, that there's wickedness in the days and that Noah is going to be instructed to build an ark. So even here, we know that during these days, and it came to pass, this is Genesis 6, 1 and 2. And it came to pass when men began to multiply in the face of the earth, and daughters were born to them, that the sons of God saw that the daughters of men were fair, so they took them wives of all whom they chose. Then the Lord said, my spirit shall not dwell in man forever, because he is flesh. Let his days be 120 years. So that's when this 900-year living, your life all of a sudden comes down to 120 years now. So there's something happening during this time frame. The Bible will speak of the giants. We're going to see this evidenced in the other scriptures. There were giants on the earth in those days. And after that, the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men, and they bore children to them, and they became giants, who were in the olden days were mighty men of renown. And the Lord saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was evil continually. And the Lord was sorry, and he had made man on the earth, and it grieved him in his heart. So he says, I will destroy the earth. But Noah found mercy in the eyes of the Lord. So I'm literally reading to you from the Bible, and that's in Genesis 8 right there. These are the generations of Noah. Noah was a just man and innocent in his days. And God was pleased with Noah. And then he begets the three sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. But he's saying the earth is corrupt. That's what God is saying. And he's going to tell him this. This is going to be referenced in the Kolbrin Bible. And it's the same 300 cubics. Interesting. When the Kolbrin Bible was written way before the Bible. Make yourself an ark of gopher wood. So God is even instructing a particular type of wood. Make rooms in the ark and daub it without and within with pitch. And we know that that's to make it, water resistant. And this is how you shall make it. The length of the ark shall be 300 cubits, the breadth of it 50 cubits, and the height of it 30 cubits. And you shall make a window in the ark, and to the width of a cubit shall you finish it above, and the door of the ark you shall make it on its side, with the lower, second, and the third decks you shall make it. And behold, I will bring a flood of waters upon the earth to destroy all flesh that has the breath of life in it from under heaven, and everything that is on the earth shall die. But I will establish my covenant with you, and you shall enter into the ark, you and your sons, and your wife and your sons' wives with you. And of every living thing of all flesh, 2 of every kind, bring into the ark to keep them alive with you. They shall be male and female. And we all know the rest of the story, and we also are given the rainbow as a covenant. So here, this is our Bible that we have known since children have been taught in Sunday school, giving you all that information. And now let's talk about the other ancient texts. I will give links to anyone who would like to find this. There's the Apocrypha, and there's many texts that were not included in the original Bible. The Gospel of Thomas is one, the Gospel of Mary Magdalene is another. You have many wisdom texts that were not added into the Bible when Constantine decided in 323 AD to gather everything and make a compendium of the Bible. So you had many priests, with all these other wisdom texts in many different areas, and they had been compiling and keeping all the ancient scriptures, but Constantine was the one who had the money to compile everything. And he was not including some and adding others. He was deleting some verses, saying, no, I don't want that included. So that's when you have a lot of the texts that aren't included, but they're still out there and you can have them. And even the Catholics will have some of the Apocrypha books. So, these are books that we know of. So this one, I want to read to you a little bit, showing you that we have other sources that will speak of and delineate what and who was Noah. Very interesting. This is the ancient bloodlines from Adam. This is First Enoch 106, and this is a fragment of the book of Noah. So they actually have this. This is an ancient wisdom text. After some days, my son Methuselah, remember I went through the whole genealogy here, took a wife for his son Lamech, and she became pregnant by him and bore him a son. And his body was white as snow and red as a rose. Very interesting. So his body was white as snow, completely pale, right? And red as a rose. The hair of his head as white as wool, and his demata, 29, this is verse 20, beautiful. And as for his eyes, when he opened them, the whole house glowed like the sun. The whole house glowed even more exceedingly. And when he arose from the hands of the midwife, he opened his mouth and spoke to the Lord with righteousness. And his father Lamech was afraid of him and fled and went to Methuselah his father. And he said to him, I have begotten a strange son. He is not like an ordinary human being, but looks like the children of the angels of heaven to me. His form is different, and he is not like us. His eyes are like the rays of the sun, and his face glorious. It does not seem to me that he is of me, but of angels. And I fear that a wondrous phenomenon may take place upon the earth in his days. Do you see this forecasting? Very interesting. We have the Star of David, we have the Star of Bethlehem, we have all of this heralding Jesus in. But this also goes to show you that something miraculous is happening with the birth of Noah. So I'm beseeching you now, begging you in order that you may go to his grandfather Enoch, our father, and learn from him the truth, for his dwelling place is among the angels. When Methuselah heard the words of his son, he came to us at the ends of the earth, for he had heard that I was there. He cried out loud and heard his voice and came to him. And I said to him, Behold, my son, here I am. Why have you come here? Then he answered me and said, On account of a great distress have I come to you. On account of a grievous vision have I come near you. Now, my father, hear me, for unto my son Lamech a son has been born, one whose image and form are not like unto the characteristics of human beings. Then his father Lamech became afraid and fled, and he did not believe that the child was of him, but of the image of the angels in heaven. And behold, I have come to you in order that you may make me know the real truth. See, we didn't have this information in the Bible, but this gives you more detail of who Noah is. And this is Enoch in the first person speaking. Then I, Enoch, answered, saying to him, the Lord will surely make new things upon the earth, and I have already seen this matter in a vision and made it known to you. For in the generation of Jared, my father, remember I did the genealogy? They transgressed the word of the Lord. That is the law of heaven. That's humanity. And behold, they commit sin and transgress the commandment. They have united themselves with women and commit sin together with them, and they have married wives among them and begotten children by them. That's the giants. I think that's the fallen angels. Do you see that? And he's referencing them. They have begot children with them. Remember I gave you Genesis 6? And you can see that the sons of God saw that the daughters of men were fair and took them wives. This is backing that up, and this is coming out of Enoch's mouth, first person, right here, saying, I've seen this in a vision. This is why the earth is going to be destroyed. There shall be a great destruction upon the earth, and there shall be a deluge and a great destruction for 1 year. And this son who has been born unto you shall be left upon the earth, and his 3 sons shall be saved when they who are upon the earth are dead. And upon the earth they shall give birth to giants, not of the spirit, but of the flesh. There shall be a great plague upon the earth, and the earth shall be washed clean from all corruption. So they're referencing the giants, you're referencing the fallen angels mating with the daughters of men, and there's a problem, there's corruption. So this is Enoch supporting this right out of the Bible. And this other fragment, it's another book. This is the book of Noah. Now make known to your son Lamech that the son who has been born is indeed righteous, and call him Noah, for he shall be the remnant for you, and he and his son shall be saved upon and from the corruption which shall come upon the earth on account of the sin and the oppression that existed. And it will be fulfilled upon the days in his days. So they know, he's saying, Enoch saw this. This is going to happen during Noah's days. After that, there shall occur still greater oppression than that which was fulfilled upon the earth the first time. For I do know the mysteries of the holy ones. For he, the Lord, has revealed them to me and made me know. And I have read them in the heavenly tablets. Now, interesting, you're referencing heavenly tablets. Even in the Kolbrin Bible, it'll speak of this book of the heavenly tablets. These are 2 totally different sources from 2 different either eras or epochs saying the same things. And then you also hear this, which was fulfilled upon the earth the first time. So you see these different eras that it's happening upon the earth. Could it be that we have either a planet that's coming around, that's creating the floods, that they know of this? Do they have an astronomical understanding of what's in the heavens, what's to come? Is there prophecies? Are they getting dreams? Do you see this? So Enoch is telling Lamech, his son, and Methuselah what's going on. So now let's talk about, this was in the book of Noah. We have more understanding about the fallen angels. It supports our Bible, the giants, the men of great renown, coming and mating with the daughters. There's great corruption. There's a flood coming, right? From 2 sources. Now, I got hold of, this is, there's a book called the Haggadah, and it's ancient. And so I want to tell you a little bit about the timing of all of these. So the Old Testament was written about 2,100 years ago, okay? So the Old Testament is the original Hebrew. It's sacred scriptures. It's written between 1200 and 165 BC, before Christ. So the New Testament books were written by the Christians in the first century. That's a couple hundred years even after Christ was born. But you get from the earliest, from Genesis, the Bible was written about 2,100 years ago. The Kolbrin wisdom text, which I haven't even gotten to yet, has a compendium. There's the Great Book in there, and also the Kol book. You've got the Celtic and the Egyptian book. That was written right after the Exodus of the Jews, about 1500 BCE, and that's before Common Era, which would be about 1500 BC, and it's about 3,500 years old. So this is even more ancient than the Bible, right? Or at least older. They speak of the ancient ones. They will, both the Bible and the Kolbrin Bible and these other texts will speak of other times, written from other scripts or texts. So they'll speak of older times, even the pre-flood times, right? So now what I'm going to be reading you now is from this massive, it's a compendium of a lot of the Haggadah. It's an ancient wisdom text of the Jewish people. Traces of the earliest version of what we know today as the Haggadah can be found in the Mishnah, and it's the oldest datable rabbinic document, which dates to about 220 BCE. So we're talking probably 2,500 years. So this is an ancient Jewish wisdom text that I'm going to now tell you about. We've already written about how Noah's father was terrified, right? And we've also seen how Noah was born with the white hair, the light shining out. This is from the book of Noah. Now, this is a book from the Jewish faith. This, I'm reading you, this is Noah, the birth of Noah, and I will give you the link. You can find it at sacredtext.com. I'll give anyone a link if they'd wish to go ahead and read more in depth on this. One supports the other. Methuselah took a wife for his son Lamech, and she bore him a man-child. The body of the babe was white as snow and red as a blooming rose. Do you see? Okay, it's a different text. And the hair of his head and his long locks were white as wool, and his eyes like the rays of the sun. When he opened his eyes, he lighted up the whole house like the sun, and the whole house was very full of light. And when he was taken from the hand of the midwife, he opened his mouth and praised the Lord of righteousness. His father Lamech was afraid of him and fled and came to his own father Methuselah. And he said to him, I have begotten a strange son. He is not like a human being, but resembles the children of the angels of heaven. And his nature is different, and he is not like us, and his eyes are the rays of the sun, and his countenance is glorious. And it seems to me that he is not sprung from me, but from the angels. And I fear that in his days a wonder may be wrought on the earth. And now, my father, I am here to petition thee and implore thee that thou mayest go to Enoch, our father, and learn from him the truth, for his dwelling place is among the angels. So here you have this other Jewish text that is supporting then our fragment of the Bible, within the Bible that was from the Apocrypha, from Noah's, you see, from the Gospel of Noah. So this is giving you added detail supporting that. And so here it's going to say almost item by item. I will read to you just a couple more to show you that, but I wanted to go in here with the angels because it's in this text that supports both the Bible and the other Gospel of Noah will tell you more about the fallen angels. And when Methuselah heard the words of his son, he went to Enoch to the ends of the earth. So we don't know where Enoch is, but they both reference it to the ends of the earth. So it is a long distance. And he cried out loud, and Enoch heard his voice and appeared before him and asked him the reason of his coming. Methuselah told him the cause of his anxiety and requested him to make the truth known to him. Enoch answered and said, "The Lord will do a new thing in the earth. There will come a great destruction on the earth and a deluge for 1 year. This son who was born unto thee will be left on the earth, and his 3 children will be saved with him, when all mankind that are on the earth shall die. There will be a great punishment on the earth, and the earth will be cleansed from all impurity. And now make known to thy son Lamech that he who was born is truth his son." So here we get the added confirmation that it is his son. "And call his name Noah, for he will be left to you. He and his children will be saved from the destruction which will come upon the earth." And when Methuselah had heard the words of his father, who showed him all the secret things, he returned home, and he called for the child Noah, for he would cause the earth to rejoice in compensation for all destruction. Now, the other thing I wanted to add here, which is very interesting, and it really made me think about those. Do you remember the child's tale of Rumpelstiltskin in The Secret Name? Do you remember that the queen had to find the secret name of Rumpelstiltskin, otherwise Rumpelstiltskin was going to take her firstborn son? So Rumpelstiltskin has a secret name, and no one knows the secret name. And I remember that as a child, right? I was going, that's very interesting. There's something that's a secret. When I read this verse, I was like, something is up. By the name Noah, he was called only by his grandfather, right? This is Enoch. So Enoch is calling him Noah, but no one else. Or I'm sorry, Methuselah. By the name Noah, he was called only by his grandfather, Methuselah. So Methuselah can call him Noah, right? His father and all the others called him Menahem. Very interesting. So he was given this name. They knew he was special. They gave him the name Noah, but only Methuselah can call him by that name, because it must have special significance, power, knowledge, something attached to it. Now, this is very interesting. His generation was addicted to sorcery, and Methuselah apprehended that his grandson might be bewitched if his true name were known. That's like right out of the fairy tales, right? So there's a truth finder, there's something there that either it's almost like King Arthur. Do you remember he was taken by into the woods and raised with another family because they knew he was the true son, and no one knew who he was until all of a sudden Merlin brought him to the stone and he was able to extract Excalibur. So even he didn't know who he was. It just reminiscent of those legends. Do you see that with the Holy Grail, with all this it's very interesting. So he's telling you that no one knows his true name except Methuselah, or at least they know it, but they won't call him by it, right? Wherefore he kept it secret. Menahem, that's now Noah, right? Comforter, that's what that means, suited him, as well as Noah. It indicated he would be a consoler, if but the evildoers of his time would repent of their misdeeds. At his very birth, it was felt that he would bring consolation and deliverance. When the Lord said to Adam, "Cursed is the ground for thy sake," he asked, "For how long a time?" And the answer made by God was, "Until a man-child shall be born, whose confirmation is such that the rite of circumcision need not be practiced upon him." This was fulfilled in Noah. He was circumcised from his mother's womb. Very interesting. So you've got a prophecy there that everything's cursed until Noah's born. And now watch what happens. They're telling you that in the days that there was things happening with the crops, that you would plant oats and wheat would come up. Things weren't right. But when Noah's born, all of a sudden things are righted. Noah had scarcely come into the world when a marked change was noticeable. Since the curse brought upon the earth by the sin of Adam, it happened that the wheat being sown, yet oats would sprout and grow. You see, it was it's all confusion. It's not, things aren't being instructed according to the correct laws of nature. This ceased with the appearance of Noah. The earth bore the products planted in it. And it was Noah who, when he was grown to manhood, invented the plow, the scythe, the hoe, and other implements for cultivating the ground. Before him, men had worked the land with their bare hands. Now, I had never known that. Had you guys? I'd never known that. Now, you kind of get the same kind of reference to Thoth, that in the Egyptian lore, Thoth comes in and brings writing. He brings and he gifts humanity with all these things, do you see, and how to grow crops. So you're getting the same kind of legends, and that's what I'm trying to show is you're getting, you have the gods or the winged ones, the feathered serpents coming in and gifting humanity, all over the earth. You have these legends. That's Quetzalcoatl, right? So Viracocha, you have that kind of, it's always usually in 7 that they're coming around the earth. So even in South America and the Mayans, the Aztecs, you hear of in the Inca, it's Viracocha, Quetzalcoatl, you see that, but you get the same, and Thoth is gifting the Egyptians with this. This gives you much more of a detailed understanding of who Noah was, and he's gifting humanity with these tools and instruments too. There was another token to indicate that the child born to Lamech was appointed for an extraordinary destiny. When God created Adam, he gave him dominion over all things. The cow obeyed the plowman, and the furrow was willing to be drawn. But after the fall of Adam, all things rebelled against him. The cow refused obedience to the plowman, and also the furrow was refractory. Noah was born, and all returned to the state preceding the fall of man. I mean, this is really huge, and I don't think that a lot of times the sermons have ever brought out the full understanding of just how special Noah was. Before the birth of Noah, the sea was in the habit of transgressing its bounds twice daily, morning and evening, and flooding the land up to the graves. After his birth, it kept within its confines. So that's also signifying to me there's something in the heavens, some cosmological phenomenon that's also transpiring on earth, in the heavens and the earth. There's something happening in tandem. And the famine that afflicted the world in the time of Lamech, the second of the 10 great famines appointed to come upon, ceased its ravages with the birth of Noah. So, I mean, I had never read all this and unearthed it. So you're showing that there was famine during those times, there was problems with the waters, things weren't correct, and then all of a sudden Noah literally is born and things start to be righted. Now, what I want to do is go over the angels, and this is the Nephilim, and then I'll go through here. I'm going to run a little bit. I've got 20 minutes. I'm going to try to get through most of this. Forgive me if I'm a little bit longer. If you wish, everyone here can leave, at the point of time. But for those, I'll try to finish this out because it's really interesting to make the connection with the Kolbrin Bible and Nibiru.
6:30. 6:30.
Could we go? Okay. I don't know. How long can you stay? Oh, good. Okay. Because I want to be able to show you how this correlates. And this is interesting because in the Bible, we speak of the fallen angels, right? But it doesn't go into all that detail. So I'm kind of flushing it out with these other wisdom texts. So this is the punishment of the fallen angels. We know there's wickedness. We know they're calling them really interesting. In the Bible, it's speaking of the giants or men of great renown, but it will also speak of them being corrupt. You see both, you'll get both. So in this text, now watch this, the punishment of the fallen angels, because David was here before, but I did a whole thing about Lucifer and the fallen angels coming in and the third of the company of heaven and what that was about. But so were these men of great renown? We have giants that speak of in the Bible. We've got giants speak of in these wisdom texts, right? Were they the men of great renown? Were they're part of the Greeks? Remember, you had the half Greek god, half mated with the mortal woman, the demigods. You have the gods. You have Zeus. You see these legends of the giants in many different areas. You also have seen it. All you have to do is do a quick Google search. There's been bones of giants that have been unearthed in the Americas and throughout the entire world. Now, they have been given, in America, I looked into this, they were given a lot to the Native Americans so that they could rebury them, but a lot of them were also, they brought in the Smithsonian, they'll grab them and then they just disappear. But there is few places that you can still see them, they exist, and these were giants like 15 feet high. And even George Washington had heard about these giants, the Mandan Indians. And you'll see even pictures, where he was with these tall Mandan Indians. So you'll see it. And there was large Indians from the east, and there was east coast of America and the west, and they met. One was like 15 feet, one was 12 feet. So you'll have these, all you got to do is just go ahead and just do some research. There are bones, they have been unearthed. There's still some remnants of them. So this gives credence to the Bible. It gives credence to this wisdom text, the Jewish wisdom text. I mean, that there were giants in those days. Where did the giants come from? Is this a reference to these fallen angels, or are the fallen angels something else? Do you see? Where are these bloodlines coming? There's ancient bloodlines. Everyone's always talking about the bloodlines, whether you're going back into all the different cultures around the world. They hold holy these bloodlines. What was special about these bloodlines? And I'll even draw some kind of correlation, and I have no idea if it's true, but we have to use our own inquiring minds and do our own research. But if the ancient wisdom texts speak of this great frightener that's coming around, do you see that? And could it be this planet X that our scientists are referencing or thinking about, or this Nibiru? Is there a binary star system? Because that's what they're starting to look at. Remember, the astronomers were trying to say 50 years ago, there were no such things as black holes. Then there was only one. Now we're finding out that there's billions of galaxies and they all have black holes. So is there a binary star system, or all these things we just don't, we have to be open to know that we may not know everything right now. So can we have an open heart and mind and investigate and see what we don't know and hold this, as a moment of inquiry. So if that is true with the Nibiru or these great frighteners, could that also be why Noah knew or Methuselah knew? Did they have this book of heaven that spoke of these cosmological phenomenons? They're also saying, there's a lot of people referencing that if there is this planet, is that the one that holds the Anunnaki? Do you see that? And so was this something that heralded in? Is this other race that they're speaking of? So do you have, I don't know. I mean, you've got the giants, you've got all of these cylinders showing in the Sumerian things about the Anunnaki being way bigger than humans. So then there's a lot of questioning, who are the Anunnaki? Were they on Nibiru? Do they only come here? I mean, we don't know, but I'm asking people to think about. Do you see that? Because it may be our origins and our creation may be more special than we ever thought about. And it may be more complex. So there's always been these, questionings, who's the Nephilim, who are the watchers, and who are the fallen angels? So here I was going to use the punishment of the fallen angels just to give you an idea of who these fallen angels were, at least from this Jewish wisdom text. Grown to manhood, Noah followed in the days of his grandfather Methuselah, while all other men of his time rose up against this pious king. So far from observing his precepts, they pursued the evil inclinations of their hearts and perpetuated all sorts of abominable deeds. Chiefly the fallen angels and their giant posterity. Do you see how they're making that reference? So they're saying mostly the fallen angels and their sons. I think that's what I'm getting from this right here. Caused the depravity of mankind. The blood spilled by the giants cried unto heaven from the ground. And the 4 archangels accused the fallen angels and their sons before God, whereupon he gave the following orders to them. Uriel was sent to Noah to announce to him that the earth would be destroyed by a flood and to teach him how to save his own life. Now, I had never known that. That gives me the name of the angel that came to Noah, right? Raphael was told to put the fallen angel Aziel into chains. So this is a fallen angel. They're giving us a name, who this fallen angel was, of the third of the heaven. And so Raphael comes down and puts him into chains, cast him into a pit of sharp and pointed stones in the desert Dudiel, and cover him with darkness. And so was he to remain until the great day of judgment, when he would be thrown into the fiery pit of hell, and the earth will be healed of the corruption he had contrived upon it. Gabriel was charged to proceed against the bastards and the Reprobites, the sons of the angels, begotten with the daughters of men. That shows you who they are and gives us a name, and plunge them into the deadly conflicts with one another. Shemaiah's ilk were handed over to Michael, who first caused them to witness the death of their children in their bloody combat with each other, and then he bound them and pinned them under the hills of the earth, where they will remain for 70 generations, until the day of judgment, to be carried thence to the fiery pit of hell. So here, that I had never had that detail before, that these 4 angels are come down with specific missions to be able to enact on earth. In the fall of Aziel and Shemel's came about in this way. When the generation of the deluge began to practice idolatry, God was deeply grieved. And remember, we spoke of that in the Bible. Remember, I said that. So this is one's confirming the other. The 2 angels, Shemaiah and Haziel, rose, and they said, O Lord of the world, it has happened, that which we foretold as the creation of the world and of man, saying, what is man that thou art mindful of him? And God said, and what will become of the world now without man? Whereupon the angels, we will occupy ourselves with it. Then said God, I am well aware of it, and I know that if you inhabit the earth, the evil inclination will overpower you, and you will be more evil than ever the men shall be. The angels pleaded, grant us but permission to dwell among men, and thou shalt see how we will sanctify thy name. God yielded to their wish, saying, descend and sojourn among men. So the angels are saying, let me come to earth and inhabit. I'll be pure. I won't get beasts, become like beasts, right? I won't be like those the men. And so God relents and allows the angels to earth. When the angels came to earth and beheld the daughters of men in all their grace and beauty, they could not restrain their passion. Isaiah saw a maiden named Estar, and he lost his heart to her. She promised to surrender herself to him, If first he taught her the ineffable name, the secret name of God. Remember, Noah has a secret name. So this angel, the girl says, I'll love you and marry you, basically, but you have to first tell me God's secret name, the ineffable name. Teach me the mysteries of what you know from the heavenly realms, right? Beguile, beguile, beguile. Watch this. If first he taught her the ineffable name, by means of which he raised himself to heaven. This is really fascinating. He assents to her condition. But once she knew it, she pronounced the name. Remember, we talked about sound and intention and knowledge, and herself ascends to heaven without fulfilling her promise to the angel. Now, wait a second. She's a smart little bugapoo. He wants, so the angel is saying, I want you. Now, she's a human, right? She can't fight back. But she says, you can have me, but give me the name of God. How do you ascend to heaven? She doesn't want to fornicate with him. She gets the name of God. She ascends herself to God. We got to love her, right?
He's in there waiting.
Yes, we love you. That you talk about tricky, right? Thank you. So her name is Issachar. Is her Istahar. We got to remember her name because she, yes. So because, watch this, I love it. So, and herself ascends to heaven without fulfilling her promise to the angel. God said, because she kept herself aloof from sin, we will place her among the 7 stars, that men may never forget her. And she was put into the constellation of Pleiades. Isn't that beautiful?
I love it.
Yeah.
So now, remember the Shem, Hazar, and Aziel are the fallen angels. Remember? And Michael and Raphael were instructed to come and grab them. Watch this. Shemazar and Haziel, however, were not deterred from entering into alliances with the daughters of men. So they just decided to fornicate. And the first 2 sons were born. So they have children, right? Aziel began to devise the finery and the ornaments of which women allure men. Therefore, God sent Metatron to tell Shemazal that he had resolved to destroy the world and bring on a flood. The fallen angel began to weep and grieve over the fate of the world and the fate of his 2 sons. See, because he may feel bad about the earth being drowned, but now he's got his 2 sons. See? If the world went under, what would they have to eat? They who needed a daily 1,000 camels, 1,000 horses, and 1,000 steers. Now, I'd never read this. This is telling you exactly the giants, how big they were, and how much they're eating daily. It even gives you their diet. It's, yeah. So it's almost like the 15-foot giants that we have found bones on Earth. They aren't these. There's something that the fallen angels, and when they beget, they're huge. Like think of Zeus, and they had to have been huge. But could it be that the 15-foot and the 12-foot giants are still remnants of that seed, you see, that are still upon. So these 2 sons of Shemazah, and they even give you names, Hiwa and Haya by name, dreamed dreams. The one saw a great stone which covered the earth, and the earth was marked all over with lines upon lines of writing. That was very interesting. An angel came and with a knife obliterated all the lines, leaving but 4 letters upon the stone. I'm just wondering if it's that Yod-Heh, Vod-Heh. The other son saw a large pleasure grove planted with all sorts of trees, but angels approached bearing axes, and they felled the trees, sparing a single one with 3 of its branches. That's going to be Noah and his 3 sons. You see that? When Hiwa and Yael awoke, they repaired to their father, who interpreted the dreams for them, saying, God will bring a flood, and none will escape with his life, excepting only Noah and his sons. When they heard this, the two began to cry and scream, but their father consoled them. Soft, soft, do not grieve. As often as men cut or haul stones or launch vessels, they shall invoke your names. Again, you get the invoke, right? So you see the names mean it's much more than a name. There's a technique, there's way more knowledge that comes with this name. Hiwa Yayawa, this prophecy soothed them. Shemazah then did penance. He suspended himself between heaven and earth, and in this position of a penitent sinner, he hangs to this day. But Azazel persisted in his sin of leading mankind astray by means of sensual allurements. And for this reason, two goats were sacrificed in the temple on the Day of Atonement. The one for God, that he pardons the sin of Israel, and the other one for Azazel, that he bear the sins of Israel. So he's literally, they're still showing that he's needs to be sacrificed. So here, then I'll just read you this, and then I'm going to go to the other one with the time. Unlike Issachar, that was the maiden that ascended up to heaven, the pious maiden, Nominel, the lovely maiden of Tubal-Cain, led the angels astray with her beauty. And from her union with Shamatan sprang the devil Asmodeus. She was as shameless as all the descendants of Cain, and as prone to bestial indulgences. Canaanite women and Canaanite men alike were in the habit of walking abroad naked, and they gave themselves up to every conceivable manner of lewd practices. So here you're starting to see what was referencing in the Bible when I even read to you that here that it was all sensual, that they were evil, it was evil continually, remember? And they're even telling you, and this is, remember the mark of Cain? And Adam and Eve, and then Cain slew Abel, and then there's the mark of Cain, remember he goes off. They're referencing that with the Canaanite women. They're even telling you that's who the giants are mating with. They're even giving you that that's who they're mating with, right? And it said, the offspring of these alliances between the angels and the Canaanite women were the giants, known for their strength and their sinfulness. As their very name, the Iyum, indicates, they inspired fear. They have many other names. Sometimes they may go by Rephaim because one glance at them made one's heart grow weak, or by the name Gaborium, simply giants, because their size was so enormous that their thigh measured 18 ells, or by the name Zamzumin, because they were great masters in war. So here, I want you to see, they're telling us who the Nephilim are, exactly who they mated with, who the angels were. The angels come in with the Canaanite women. They're still huge, how much they're eating, right? But here they're saying, because they were great masters in war by the name Achanim, because they touched the sun with their neck, or by the name Itham, because like the snake, they could judge of the qualities of the soil, meaning they're smart, they've got higher knowledge, and by the name Nephilim, because bringing the world to its fall, they themselves fell. So now we know exactly who the Nephilim are and have a fuller understanding of who Noah is and the Nephilim. So we now know, and they're even saying this is the generation of the flood. The wantonness of this generation was in measure due to the ideal conditions under which mankind lived before the flood. They knew neither toil nor care, and as a consequence of their extraordinary prosperity, they grew insolent in their arrogance. They rose up against God. A single sowing bore a harvest sufficient for the needs of 40 years. And by the by the means of magic arts, they could compel the very sun and moon to stand ready to do their service. The raising of children gave them no trouble. I never knew this. That means there's another entity, there's another genetic component to this. They were born after a few days pregnancy, and immediately after the birth they could walk and talk. They themselves aided the mother in severing the navel string. Not even demons could do them harm. I mean, they're telling you exactly who the Nephilim were. And that there's a mating, right, between these angels, and you're creating these huge kind of angelic beings, but with arrogance and with the lower nature of humanity, you see? And so it was a carefree time. You have the earth now being saturated with the lower elements. And then God is instructing Enoch, right, with the flood, and Methuselah. They all know that now Noah's born and there's going to be a flood upon the earth. So now what I want to do is talk to you a little bit about the Kolbrin Bible. So the Kolbrin Bible, I told you, is very old. So in the book of Gleanings, the first six books in this Kolbrin Bible is from ancient papyrus that speaks of even before the flood. But it also speaks of the flood of mankind. It literally will tell you about another family that's just like Noah, that's instructed to build the ark with the same dimensions. That also reads about a book of this heavenly book that has all kinds of magic wonder in it. The same thing that this other Jewish wisdom text speaks of. So that you've got different sources from different times and different eras all converging. So in the Kolbrin Bible, I want to show you what they're predicting, and they're talking about the floods, and they're also going to tell you that you have the Great Frightener coming. And this is going to come and will come again. This is, I'm going to show you, I can give you, if you want to read this for yourselves. Here, it'll even tell you how big, where the ark landed and how it was composed. And it will match up exactly with Noah. So they're going to talk about the destroyer too. That's what they call this destroyer that comes, and it's going to come again. This is from the book of Gleanings, the Kolbrin Bible, right here. If you want to come and reference it, it's page 44 or 47. Habaras, and this is the family instead of Noah, is taught very simply, they say, because his forefathers have all this unbelievable knowledge, but he has to be taught simply because it's almost too much for him to understand. But he then comes and he speaks to everyone, and this is what he gifts them with: the wheel of the year. And he divided the year into summer half and winter half, with a great year cycle of 52 years. And then 104, that's the two. Do you see he's combining it? Which was the circle and cycle of the destroyer. So they're even referencing this destroyer. And I came back in because I wanted to get the numbers. This was before times when the destroyer still slumbered in the upper vaults of heaven. So they're even saying that they know about the destroyer, but it hasn't come yet. Now, on page 45, Hanok, the son of Holtier, came out of Ardias. And this is when humanity became decadent, right? He heard the voice telling him of a great upheaval and flood, and to build an ark or ship. He built it by the river of gold on the lake of Namas, 3 stories high, he was instructed to build it. And he gave the dimensions. Build it 300 cubics. Didn't I just tell you that was what Noah was instructed to do? By 50 cubics, even giving you instructions with 3 stories. Told and instructed to bring the animals and the people, seed, animals, and precious golds, stones, and all the things that were important. See, so this family, the Hanok, son of Holdagar, was just like Noah, was instructed to build the ark because there was going to be destruction upon the earth because it was sinful. So then when you go into the gleanings, this is gleaning 4:25. It tells of the flood. The floodgates of heaven were opened and the foundations of earth were broken apart and the surrounding waters poured forth. This is just like our flood in our Bible. The storehouse of winds burst their bolts asunder, so storms and whirlwinds were loosed to hurl themselves upon the earth. In the seething waters and howling gales, all buildings were destroyed. Trees were uprooted and mountains cast down. There was a time of great heat. Then came a time of bitter cold. The waves over the waters did not rise and fall, but seethed and swirled. There was an awful sound above. So they're even telling you now the waters were rocking and rolling. All of a sudden now they're swirling. So to me, it's a cosmological phenomenon that's making this happen. The sky vault, you see, their verbiage is different, but it's beautiful. The sky vault was rent and broken, and the whole of creation was in chaos. There was a revolt on high. A new ruler appeared there and swept across the sky in majesty. That to me is indicating what this could be like, a Nibiru, another planet. They're telling you from this old text from Ancient of Days, something happened that created that flood, and they're seeing it in the heavens, and there was chaos. Gleanings 4:25. After many days, the great ship came to rest upon Karta in the mountains of Ashtar against Nishim. They're giving you names. And it was in the land of God. The land was then distributed among Hanok and his 3 brothers. Not the sons like Noah, but this was the 3 brothers by his mother. So the mother was the mother of the family, and she had these sons, and she's the one who divvied up the lands because she would be fair. You see that? All the cities were rebuilt. The greatest city of Azarka stood for 1,000 years. However, it became decadent, and God brought winds to disseminate the city, which again is right kind of out of the Bible. Remember when Saul leaves and the city Gomorrah is, vanished, vanquished? You get the same kind of thing there when you have humanity that's pure and wonderful. They fall into decadence, and then you have these floods. And then it was repeopled once more. But however, it says, the prophecy of the destroyer will come again. So this is in manuscripts 2:13, 3:13. This is the prophecy of when the destroyer will come. And so what I'm going to do is read you literally right out of it, because it will tell you, this is, remember, Revelations, the 666, when judgment day will come, it kind of matches the same way. And are we in these times? And so here, I wanted to, this is absolutely, it's beautiful. So 263, hang on, I'm going to give you this one, and then I'll close. This is the book of manuscripts for anyone who wants to know, chapter 26, and this is the scroll of Kabbalah. The day of the destroyer will come again, and the land shall be laid waste. It will strike out of heaven at a time when there is prosperity and peace. through the minds of men shall be perplexed. It will be a time when men worship the works of men and say there is nothing greater than these. That kind of reminds me of the biology argument. There is no God. It's just a biological function. It just only look at us, right? There's no divinity. You see, that's what it's saying there. When women are as men and men as women, when the hearts of men are in turmoil and all men seek pleasure and gain. You see, they are in it, again, the indolent, the arrogance, the bestiality, the decadence. When craftsmen are inefficient and workmen are idle, and all men seek ease and comfort. Be alert and strong, my children. Be ready for the day of the next visitation, when doom reaches down from the skies and man is blasted with irresistible power. See, that is always absolute power corrupts absolutely. And that's when we have to remain pure of heart and spirit, because even Jesus told us, think pure thoughts, do pure actions, have love in your heart. These are the laws in which you shall find the strength to survive throughout the days of your hardships. Remember them well, for they will bear you up. And then they will literally go into the instruction on what we should do to keep holy and pure. So I wanted to show you that this Kolbrin Bible is literally telling us that the destroyer is going to come. Zecharia Sitchin spoke of what the Sumerian text is saying. They're even giving you a timeline, 3,600 years. When I went through the Kolbrin Bible, I looked and it gave me in some of the verses as to when it was going to come. And it came up to about, it said 30 generations. And it gave me how many generations, and it came up to like 2,800 years. So it was very close to what Zecharia Sitchin was saying. So I wanted to close with this because it's beautiful out of the Kolbrin Bible. And it will give us who God our Father is. And it's very beautiful. He is not a new God, but the oldest God of all, the Father of all ages, the ancient one of yore. He requires no temple to establish his glory or sacrifice to give him strength. A cheerful nature is more acceptable to this God than offerings of gold and silver by the bad-tempered man, or the sacrificial ox of the churlish man. He prefers the man who gives a willing hand to his neighbor, to one who brings him treasure. And those are the good deeds that Jesus spoke of. We're supposed to love thy neighbor. We're supposed to love each other, not sacrifice lambs and give rise to the temples. Even Jesus spoke by the mountains side. He spoke, gave a sermon at the mountaintop. He spoke by the Sea of Galilee. He wasn't giving rise to the temples, do you see, in his name? And this is again what this ancient text is supporting. A word of encouragement to a man in distress is of more value to our God than loud praises in his temple. He does not take all and remain mute. He seeks not gifts with no purpose or wasteful sacrifices. What can man give that will add to his glory? What thing fashioned by man could benefit the one God, who by taking thought could create a universe? Isn't that gorgeous? Work for our Lord, and he will work for you. He remembers well the man who labors on his behalf. He who labors to the benefit of others works for the great God. He who improves earth works for him. The purpose of man's sojourn on earth is the glorification of man, not the glorification of God, who is the all-glorious one. Thus it is written in the plans of God, the true temples of the great God are not structures of stone and brick. They are places of quietude in your heart and home, where you listen to the awakening of your soul as it responds to the conscious contact with him. His worship is your labor among the people. His praise is the song in your heart. His adoration is your joy of living. Keep the peace of this mysterious God and maintain the order of his law among men and women, for they are his flocks and herds, and he calls forth shepherds from among them. He made earth a workplace for man and not a pleasure garden. Therefore, be you a song leader at the task. Isn't that precious? He is a mighty God, the nameless one whom your fathers held in awe. He it was who dissipated the darkness over the waters, who separated the chaos, who lifted the cloud, who made the breezes of life to fill the nostrils of men. Men come forth from his members, and they appeared in his likeness. For their sustenance, he provides fruits and vegetables, animals and fowl. And so what I wanted to close with is just a beautiful meditation, because this is the God in our hearts. We carry him in everything that we do, and we can call to him in the quiet of our hearts and minds and toil among humanity doing good works, because we serve this greater divine glory, his, the God, the ineffable one, and we are made in his image. So we're called not to be arrogant, you see, but to have humility and to have joy in our hearts and to be the song leaders among humanity and help, because this is a time of great chaos. And I think we are called to be, the singers, to praise God, to praise all the goodness here, and to be the holy temples. And that is creating that sacred vibratory rate, right? And if we have a secret name, let it be that secret name, that we sing his glories and help one another. So I hope this has been a beautiful service for you guys, and that we can take that message with us. I will put the links up for everyone here if they are interested in the Kolbrin Bible or some of the other ancient wisdom texts, the fragment of the book of Noah and some of the ancient Jewish texts, and to see how they all correlated. And do your own work and research. And could there be this Planet X? What do we have? Is this Great Frightener? Is that what they were referencing? So just some things for thought. And this is the time, really, truly, to hold God in your heart, in your actions, in your minds, and let us sing praises to each other and help each other. And so we will close this service. We're only 20 minutes late. And for those of you who have any questions, feel free. I'll give 2 minutes here to see if they want. And also, the Cosmic Church of Spiritual Light really does need an energy exchange to keep itself going. So if anyone would like to donate, I will put the link here. You go to ccosl.com/donate, and then you can make a small donation if you would like, or feel called to do that. So we appreciate all the love that you can give us and all the energy so we can fulfill our higher purpose. And I'll just see here. If we have any questions, I can look at the participants, put something in the chat box. If you have anything, thank you all for coming. I can see you. Let's see here. All right, so I don't see any chat messages, but it is ccosl.com/to-donate. And it was the Kolbrin Bible. And I will also put this on my Facebook page in the Cosmic Church of Spiritual Light. I will give you the links if you would like them. Thank you, everyone. Okay, please spell the name of the Bible. Show you right here. It's the Kolbrin, Kolbrin Bible, Bible. You have to get the 21st Century Master Edition. It is absolutely glorious. Hopefully I was able to answer that one. See if we have any more. Was I able to answer that? Okay. Okay. I think we've got it. I'm going to sign off for now. And this is the Kolbrin Bible. And I will also give you, hang on one second. The other one was the fragment was the Gospel of Noah. And you can find that. I will give the links. And the other one was this is the first Enoch 106, the fragment, the Book of Noah. Right here, you can find that. That was for the Center of Online Judaic Studies, where I was able to get that. And the other one was the ancient Jewish text. They gave us the full rendering of who Noah was, which I thought was just wonderful. So I will go ahead and put that also in there and put it up on my website. But here, right here, I will tell you, I'll read it to you so you have it before we close. This is the Legend of the Jews. This is where I was able to get that. They have the full sacred text, www.sacred, sacred.com/JUD/LOJ106.HTM. And that's by Louis Kinsberg. And he was able to, it's on the Sacred Text website. So hopefully I was able to give that to you guys, and I'm going to sign off.